You know, it's nice for once to have an episode where there's nothing on the line. I may have just realised that I have ruined the entire episode already. But welcome to another episode of Attempting Not to Get Sacked, and now we take on Huddersfield Town away from home in the last game of the season. And there's no bearing on the result for us. Like, if we win, you know, great. If we lose, well, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, that's not really the way that a football manager should talk, really. In the last episode, we took on Middlesbrough at home and beat them by 3-1, which kept us in a very unlikely playoff race. But unfortunately, as I have just mentioned in the last 20 seconds, we are currently nowhere near the playoffs now, and the season is pretty much over. But as I said as well, it's a bit weird that we're going into the last game of the season where we don't really have to worry about anything. It is a rather strange feeling. Now, following that game against Middlesbrough, we took on Stoke City at home and beat them by 2-0. It took us a while to break the deadlock, but Liam Cullen scored from a free kick, and then Ennis added a second a few minutes later as we managed to get all 3 points. But in our following game against Nottingham Forest, we lost by 2-0 in a very disappointing defeat against a side that were at the bottom half of the table. Yeah, coupled with Huddersfield's draw, it meant that even if we had won the game, we were completely out of the race. But it doesn't matter though, because we do take on Huddersfield Town in the final game of the season, and as I have been mentioning in the last couple of episodes, it would be nice for us to build a base upon to go into next season very strongly and hopefully challenge for the top half of the table or maybe even the playoffs next season, because it has been an astounding season for us. I think this is probably the highest we're ever going to finish. So yeah, great achievements all around. After nearly the entire season out, Miles Kenlock is now back in training after damaging his spine at the start of the season, which means that he is now back and fit. But, I mean, it was a bit harsh from my assistant manager because in that week's training, he said that Miles Kenlock was the worst performer. I mean, the bloke's just come back from a broken back.
I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
In the win over Stoke City as well, like we beat them 2-0 and we were actually very good in that game, they said the referee had a good game. That shows you how poor it was. And I know in the match there was 31 shots in the game, 16 to us and 15 to Stoke, but the fact that they've said that the referee had a good game in the match report shows you the quality of the match altogether. But to be brutally honest to myself, I mean, the referees are having an incredibly difficult time. I mean, have you seen the sort of red cards they've been giving out recently? Absolutely disgraceful. Talking of red cards as well, Jacob Davenport picked up one in the game against Nottingham Forest where we lost by 2-0, and he basically ruined the game for us. He got sent off, I think, when we were 1-0 down. We ended up having to try and chase the game with 10 men, which was never going to happen, and then we succumbed to a 2-0 defeat. It also means that he is now banned for the last game of the season against Huddersfield, and also the first 2 games of next season if he's still at the club. I've literally spent 350,000 on a player that has picked up more yellow cards and red cards than assists and goals put together. And what amazes me more is that he's got the best pass completion this season. Oh, is he passing it sideways and backwards like the rest of the team is? And I suppose what's even more shocking is that Keenan Davis has the most amount of man of the matches this season, despite the fact that Niall Ennis has scored 26 league goals and is top goal scorer in the league. I mean, how has Niall Ennis not won more player of the matches this season? We've also decided to release Kamil Majek from his contracts because I can't play him because he hasn't got a work permit, and he can't get a work permit unless I play him in any games. So basically, it's just a useless player to have in the squad. The media are also saying that he's enjoyed a fair season at the club so far, but I mean, to be honest, he conceded 12 goals in 5 games. How is that a fair season? And let me not forget the first game of the season against Birmingham City where the ball was literally going wide and he somehow managed to contrive to push it into the back of the net. Now, we go into our final game of the season against Huddersfield Town, and with it being the final game of the season and with nothing really on the line, I've decided to rejig the side a lot. But we're going to play the 4-2-2-2 formation in this match, as I've decided to play 2 strikers up front for the first time since about January, I think. But Geordie Shelfhout will make his debut on the series as he plays in goal, as Daniel Grimshaw is dropped to the bench. Miles Kenlock also returns to the side after his long injury layoff to take his place at left back, with Keane Bryan moving into the centre back position to play alongside Kane Ramsey, who I initially assigned as a right back, and Luke Matheson also will be playing in that right back position. Harry Clark and Luke O'Connell will be our 2 central midfielders in this game. We do decide to go with Dan Nalondalou playing on the left wing, with Alex Samuel playing on the right wing, and Keenan Davis and Niall Ennis will partner each other up front. It is a pretty second string side, if I could ever name one. I mean, the fact I'm playing a right back as centre back says it all, really. To be quite honest with you, I'm looking at this Huddersfield team and I can't work out where they're playing. I mean, they've got about 6 strikers on the pitch. Can I work out what they're doing? So I went to go and look at their tactics. They're playing 5 at the back and Mikel Antonio is playing as a right wing back. Marcus Harness is playing as a centre attacking midfielder. And you're telling me this team managed to make the playoffs? Fuck me, the quality must be awful this year in the league. Now, I told the boys for one last time this season, let's put in a good performance. Let's try and break the 70-point mark, because that would be an astounding achievement for us. I mean, we've already secured a top half finish finish. Let's try and get 70 points. But also, I've got to take into account that I am playing a second string side, so it's not really, you know, a necessity for me to win. Although I would like to win anyway. Only so it would piss me off that if we had beaten Nottingham Forest and Huddersfield, we would only have been 1 point off the playoffs. And things got off to a fantastic start as Niall Ellis managed to get in behind the Huddersfield defence. But then after dallying on the ball a little bit, he managed to pull the ball back for Dan Alondalou to fire into the opposite corner and to give us a 1-0 lead at the John Smith Stadium. Now, unfortunately, Dan Alondalou has been one of those players that has sort of fallen out of favour with me because I've had two good players on the wing. But it's good to see him score on the final day of the season. And we're 1-0 up, which is even better to see. There weren't too many highlights in the first half, but Nathan Holland did manage to get through on goal for Huddersfield. But then ended up proceeding to fire the ball into the side netting. And just on the stroke of half-time, we did fashion another chance before the end of the half as the ball managed to find its way to Luca Connell, but his shot went straight at the goalkeeper. But it brought the proceedings of the first half to a close, and we were very comfortable. We were 1-0 up. You know, we were doing very well in the match. We really only limited Huddersfield to half chances. I mean, they weren't really troubling us. And at half-time, I decided to say to the boys that there's another 45 minutes left of the season. Let's go and see what we can do, and let's go out with a bang. Everyone took offence to that, and then I demotivated the entire team at half-time.
You total fucking idiot! That was your job, you fucking moron!
And with just over a minute gone in the second half, Luke Daly then played the ball over the top of our defence and Nathan Holland fired it past my goalkeeper. 1-1. I really am a moron, aren't I? I really am a moron. And then within the next highlight, Juninho Bakuna played the ball over the top of our defence. Kane Ramsey then hit a very weak back pass back to the keeper. Nathan Holland exploited it and made it 2-1. Oh, God. Like, we had it in the bag. We had it in the bag, then I fucked up the team talk, and now I've fucked up our chances of winning the match. Luca Connell then saw his corner fired over the bar by Dan Alondalou a couple of minutes later. Huddersfield proceeded to continue to attack it in the second half, and the ball managed to find its way to Javi Ross on the edge of the box, and his shot was well saved by Geordie Shelfhout in our goal. But he would not be denied a couple of minutes later, as then he found himself with some more space on the edge of our box and hit a volley which went straight past our keeper, who had absolutely no chance of saving it. We have well and truly bottled it. Well and truly. And that brought our game to a close. We'd lost 3-1 to Huddersfield. We were 1-0 up at half-time and comfortable, and then that happens. Unbelievable. Now, following that final game of the season, we've had a few players named in the best 11, overall best 11 of the series. And Robbie Cundy has been added to the squad. And so Sean McLaughlin, which, I mean, to be honest, like, that doesn't really make sense to me. Let's be real a second. I mean, both of them were second fiddle to Zach Medley and Keane Bryan. And Josh Knight, by the way. The board have also set my initial budgets for next season to 3.19 million, which isn't really that much. And my wage budget isn't really that big either. I mean, have they seen the amount of money I'm paying players at the moment? I've got EK Ogbo on match highest earner at the moment. He's on 10 grand a week. The board have also set their early expectations for next season, and they want us to avoid a relegation battle, which might actually be the last season I manage at the club. I decided to treat the players as well after their 11th place finish at the end of the season, and I've decided to send them to Portugal for the pre-season training camp. The mighty Wycombe Wanderers in Portugal. I mean, that's a TV series waiting to happen. In terms of the FA Cup final, Timo Werner scored all 4 goals as Chelsea ran out 4-0 winners against Manchester United, which clearly shows that the game is not that realistic. The 11th place finish we've achieved this season is our highest ever league position in the Championship, and I cannot wait to not break that ever again. Noel Innes' 26 goals this season also saw him named as top goal scorer in the Championship this year. He was also named in the best 11 in the Championship, which was dominated by Bournemouth, who have won the league, obviously. And finally, did I win any awards for my great achievement this season, Wycombe? No, I did not. Didn't even win Manager of the Month either. Great. Roll on next season. It's going to be a fun one.